So, anime. It's great, right? Well, most of the time, I'd say, yes it is. However, for there to be those great anime, we have to have the less than stellar shows. I'm sure most of us have seen some series that we haven't exactly loved. Hell, we maybe even hated them. But I was wondering, what is the worst rated anime? What is one that almost everyone despises and is universally considered awful? So, because I hate myself, I decided to try to find this out. And spoiler alert, it's surprisingly not Boku no Pico. I hopped on MyAnimeList and went to the top shows section. By changing the limit in the URL, and a lot of trial and error, I got to the bottom and found the lowest rated anime. I then chose the bottom 3. And thankfully for me, these are all one episode OVAs, so I will be able to spend as little time on these as possible. Despite this, I think I may have died a little bit doing this, so please like the video and subscribe, because Jesus Christ, I think this took actual years off my life. I'll start with the, I guess, least worst of these 3, at least according to MyAnimeList, and then end with the worst. Anyway, let's start. Just a quick aside, the anime I'll be reviewing for this section is, not safe for work, let's just say. Nothing is shown, just so my channel doesn't get taken down, but I still review it. So yeah, just a quick heads up. Let's start with Atsui Nosaada, with an average rating of 2.21 out of 10. Now, if you're a fan of the anime man like I am, you may already know this one. And you may also know that this isn't your typical anime. This one is a cultured anime, aka a hentai. If you're not sure what a hentai is, then go into incognito before you look it up. In the Anime Man's video on this, and both the title and actual video, he described it as the worst hentai ever made. This is a sentiment I can very much agree with, because it's really bad. Like, really bad. I'll try to describe the plot the best I can, but I can't promise me explaining it will make any sort of sense. Because A, I don't want this video to get age restricted for going into too much detail, and B, even if this wasn't a hentai, I'm still kind of confused about what the plot actually is. So, it starts off with this awful looking title screen, which looks like it was made in Windows Movie Maker in the year 2000, and then an equally awful looking transition, which was also probably made in the same program. So the plot starts with a girl named Zakuro throwing herself off a school building. What a way to start. But not before having spontaneous smacks with some dude named Mamiya. This goes on for a very uncomfortable amount of time, get used to that, because it's more common in this than you might think. So, we cut to, I guess, our 2 main characters, Yukito and Kotomi, walking to school together. They quickly find out about their friend's suicide and are heartbroken about the news. This was starting to make too much sense, I guess, so they smash cut to Kotomi getting ready for some club, I think. It shows some other random girl creepily watching her change, and oh, here we go, spontaneous smack scene again. And this is just as uncomfortable and dragged out as the last. But I suppose that was just some random girl's fantasy, since it cuts to her still staring at Kotomi. Cut to Yukito and some pink-haired girl talking about that dude from earlier, Mamiya, and this thing called In Sky. I have no idea what they're really talking about, but I'm sure it's something important. Hard cut to, I think that one creepy girl and that pink-haired girl getting kidnapped by the aforementioned Mamiya, and them being forced to do it. And then Mamiya yeah, I think I'm gonna hit fast forward on this part so I can avoid getting my channel taken down. The main character bursts in, the ghost of Zakuro comes in and tells Mamiya that In Sky isn't real, then he gets super freaked out, and then the scene ends. And this whole thing concludes with Yukito and Kotomi having a happy ending, which is probably the thing that makes the most sense with this entire 23-minute OVA. So, if none of that sounded like it made sense, it's because it doesn't. Who, in the name of all that is holy, thought that it was a good idea to make this? I hear that it's based on a visual novel. I want to hope the visual novel is better, but I've never played it, and most likely never will, so I can't be sure. Other things that I want to touch on. The voice acting is really horrible. It's just plain awful. Animation is somehow even worse. Every movement seems like it was animated by a blind man with one hand tied behind his back and given 1 minute to do so, and those are at the best of times. Every frame seems like it was drawn by a completely different person, none of which were given more than 5 minutes for each scene, and none of which were good at their job either. It is a steaming pile of horse shit. That's really the best way I can describe it. At the very least, it does have some ironic enjoyment because of how bad it is, but still. 0 out of 10, would not recommend, only watch if you absolutely hate yourself. Anyway, moving on. The next one is Utsu, Musume, Sayuri. It has an average rating of 1.99 out of 10, and thank God it's only 3 minutes long. So it, let's go. God help us all. So, the plot. Considering that I cannot for the life of me figure out what it's actually about, let's see if we can find an online description of it. Sayuri is a curious creature who lives on her husband with her equally surreal mother and father. With an antenna-like whip protruding from her head, she is a striking daughter, and our long-awaited time to strike has come. Her family and friends watch eagerly as Sayuri carries out this bizarre ceremony. So, does that description sound odd? Well, if you thought so, yeah, you're right. It's really weird. I have a feeling this was supposed to be a very culturally based thing that was a bit more profound. And it's fine if I don't understand something like that. I am but a stupid American, but I definitely felt they failed on that. It just really feels like a disturbing fever dream where I finish it and I'm not sure what I just watched. And as you can tell by the insanely low rating of it, I'm not alone there. Look, I love horror, especially of the psychological type that make you feel uneasy from it. But this shit isn't horror, it's just really f***ing weird, and not in a good way. So, if you want to say something super disturbing, I guess it's for you, but if you want any kind of story, any enjoyment, or hell, even a tangible message from it, you are going to be very disappointed. In many ways, I prefer Atsui no Sora, because at least that has some ironic amusement from it. With that, it's so bad that it's actually really funny. This has none of that. It's just plain bad with no ironic enjoyment I can gain from it. So yeah, I feel like that sums up my feelings on it. It's weird, disturbing, and just plain bad. Anyway, on to the last one. Alright, now to the worst rated anime of all time. With an average rating of 1.85 out of 10, we have Tenkuu Danza Skelter plus Heaven. Yes, that is the actual title. After watching this, I can tell you that this was not an anime, not even an OVA. No. It was an experience that changed me, and in a really bad way. So I will try to explain the, story. That's a word for it, I guess. But just know, it will be just as confusing as the others, because dear God, I cannot figure out for the life of me what's actually going on for most of these 18 minutes. So it opens with this shot of the earth with a weird heartbeat type sound effect in the background. This goes on for literally almost a minute. It then pans across some city, as you hear a news channel, I guess, talking about an unknown entity that has just appeared above Tokyo. The opening then plays, which is honestly probably the best part of this entire thing. Also, in this opening, you might realize that there is awful animation and even worse CGI. But rest assured, it gets worse. We then cut to some news guy announcing the entity that is currently in the sky. The OVA thought that that was so important that they would play him saying this 4 times. Already off to an amazing start. It cuts to a bunch of people talking about, and I guess preparing for this threat. Now, who are these people? No idea, but they're important somehow, and I am not going to spend any more time than I have to trying to figure that out. So let's move on. Alright, cut to something that has no significance to what happened before it. Get used to that. Some girl is doing some target practice when some pink-haired chick informs her that there's been an emergency call. I'm assuming this is referring to the big-ass thing in the sky. Now we get to see... Oh, Jesus Christ. When I first saw this, I could not help but burst out laughing, because what the actual hell is this? Bro, forget PS1 cutscenes, this type of shit makes the Atari look good. Alright, now some girl is taking a shower, and now, can I show this? This somehow feels more oddly sexual than the actual hentai I just reviewed. Thankfully, that doesn't get much screen time, and we cut to some old dude assigning everyone to take out the entity in the sky. When watching for the first time, it was now that it occurred to me that we are less than halfway through this, so I'm going to speed up my summary. God, that looks awful. That also looks awful. Meaningless conversation happens, and the main chick is going out to fight. When I said this looks awful, I mean it. I am just as confused as I am concerned right now. Can this get any worse? Yep, it can. Meaningless flashback. This guy matters, apparently. I don't even know what's going on anymore, nor do I care. Our main girl sacrificed herself, I think, but now the threat is destroyed at least, so now I guess everyone can be happy. Wait, why are we doing a 1 year later? What the flying fuck? And credits roll. I think this broke me. I think it actually did. I am a changed man compared to when I started this video, and not in a good way. This was one of the oddest, most confusing, horrendous looking anime that I've ever seen. The only thing more I can say is, why did I decide that making this video was a good idea? Anyway, there you go. I ranked the 3 lowest rated anime of all time, which all definitely deserve their ratings, let's just say. I hope my pain was enjoyable to watch at the very least. If you thought my suffering was entertaining, please like the video, leave some feedback in the comments, and consider subscribing for more anime content in the future. This has been Anime Savvy, and I'll see you next time.